The Los Angeles Lakers, once a storied franchise, is now currently in one of the worst ruts in their history. After a fatal Achilles tear to a 5-time NBA champion Kobe Bryant in 2013, the Lakers have been on a 5-year run with nothing to show for it. In the 2010s, things are already on the decline for the Kobe Bryant-led Lakers ever since they won the championship in 2010. But in the middle part of the decade, things were as rough as it could be, even obtaining their worst franchise record of 17-65 in 2016. But finally, with the young Lakers stacking up on lottery picks and players like Lonzo Ball, Julius Randle, D'Angelo Russell, Kyle Kuzma, and Brandon Ingram, the Lakers simply were just hoping for a miracle to happen in the progression of one of those lucky players. But a different miracle would come to the city of purple and gold with the free agency signing of a 34-year-old Lebron James. Just like the Wilt Chamberlains, the Shaqs, and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars of the world, some of the greatest players in this league's history has eventually moved and played for Los Angeles. And now LeBron James, some who would call the best player the game has ever seen, is now about to create his own legacy in the legendary Staples Arena. I am not calling it the Crypto.com Arena, by the way. Fuck you. Anyways, over the soon-to-be 7 seasons or more with the Lakers if he returns, his time with the Purple and Gold Brigade has come with a lot of controversy and headlines. Sure, they got the Larry O'Brien Trophy in year number 2, but after that, most people can agree this has been the most polarizing time in Lakers history. And that's exactly what I'm here to document. The wild, wild time of LeBron James with the Lakers so far, because it's eventually going to end, but to some people, it's basically already over. So let's talk about what made these 6 years the most polarizing era in Los Angeles Lakers history. With that being said, if you want to see more videos like these, be sure to like the video as we are now officially on the road to 100,000 subscribers. So be sure to subscribe to be a part of that and to catch more videos. But as usual, this will be a long one, but you already know who it is. Wallet!
3, 2, 1.
But before we start this video, the internet will forever be one of the best inventions ever made. But there are people online who prey on those who aren't taking care of themselves when they're on the World Wide Web. Whether people are stealing your private information, obtaining viruses, or even people getting a hold of your bank information. Well, let me introduce you to today's video sponsor to help your online surfing experience, SurfShark VPN. With SurfShark VPN, they offer a limitless amount of perks that'll add to your experience both surfing the web and while keeping you safe from all types of dangers. For example, their top tier VPN that'll save you a lot of grief online when it comes to shielding yourself from the likes of data miners, malware, phishing, and even ads online. But it gets much better because with the ability to be able to set up your location to anywhere in the world, you'll get the added benefit of being able to access different servers to all types of platforms. Whether it's accessing new content on Netflix, getting cheaper deals on websites that you like to shop on, including tickets for flights or even hotels, and much more. But as a streamer, I think my favorite feature of Surfshark is the fact that it blocks away the ability to get DDoS by stealing my IP, stopping anyone from trying to do anything funny while I stream, and keeps me safe to have fun with my community without any threat of harm, and it'll do the same for you. So if you're ready to have more ease with your internet surfing experience, let me introduce you to this amazing deal with Surfshark, where they are giving you 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN when you sign up with my link in the description below or the pinned comment. And don't worry, with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there is no risk with using Surfshark VPN. Thank you again to SurfShark VPN for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. The 2010s decade for the Los Angeles Lakers started off strong, even though it was in the twilight of Kobe Bryant's career. After winning the 2009 and 2010 title, the idea was to keep their core together as long as possible and keep competing no matter what. But little cracks would form in the foundation when players leaving, coaches getting fired, injuries, questionable moves made by the front office, and finally the torn Achilles from Kobe Bryant when he tried to literally carry the Lakers Lakers in 2013. The Lakers were now in a new era, no more glitz and glamour. It was time to tank and find a new Magic Johnson, maybe a new Kobe Bryant. Just try and draft someone who can lead their franchise for years to come, just like others have done in the past. And as the years went by, the search for that guy was not successful in the slightest. In 2014, they missed out on top guys like Andrew Wiggins and Joel Embiid and got pushed back to the 7th pick in the lottery to go on and pick Julius Randle from Kentucky. And as we'll talk about later, in the upcoming change to the roster, he was the one who truly got left behind in the Lakers' plans to become relevant again. But in his time in LA, he did show he had a lot of potential to be an all-around product, slowly working on every facet of the game offensively. In 2015, they were blessed by the lottery gods, going from 4th to 2nd in the draft, and they used that pick on Ohio State point guard D'Angelo Russell, the safest pick possible at the time. But as we all know, only after 2 seasons he'd be traded to the Brooklyn Nets for his more than interesting saga with teammate Nick Young that divided the locker room big time.
Everybody having a club shit, you know?
What about Amber Rose? You ain't never tried?
She know my girl.
Huh?
She know my girl.
She know your girl.
Fat friend is my real secret shit. I got the same universe.
I'm glad you told my video all that.
And before you say, that actually wasn't the reason they traded away D'Lo, Magic Johnson himself confirmed it. The locker room was nasty due to what he did to Nick Young. And even though I would have done something similar, I would not have put that shit on Snapchat. Why would he ever broadcast to the world what he does with women? Anyways, in 2016, they drafted Duke star Brandon Ingram, 2nd overall, missing out on Ben Simmons, and out of everyone mentioned so far, looks to be the most NBA ready and able to translate his game almost immediately. So, as the all-star potential was shown as soon as his 2nd season, as a mini KD type, and by mini, I mean he's built like a starving Slenderman type of mini. And finally, in 2017, the Lakers fell in love with the California-born and raised Lonzo Ball, who shined with his playmaking ability and his potential as a 6'6" point guard, and took him 2nd overall as LeVar Ball predicted over Jason Tatum and even his college rival at the time, De'Aaron Fox. But as Magic Johnson said, and I quote, "There's some jerseys hanging up on that wall. We expect a Ball jersey hanging up there one day." While it was very much optimistic, let's just say that the hype for Lonzo Ball was absolutely through the roof. Was it warranted? Maybe. They even took a few late W's in the draft, getting Kyle Kuzma and Josh Hart, who turns out to be steals of their class. And with this foundation, the Lakers look to actually start their journey into becoming a great young team with potential star power all over. The 2017-2018 Lakers were actually a fun team to watch and see come into their own, with their last few years of top 5 draft picks coming together. A 2nd-year Brandon Ingram was already leading the team in scoring, with Kyle Kuzma shining as a rookie and even at one point causing a debate if he was better than Jason Tatum at the time. Lonzo Ball couldn't translate his scoring to the NBA after his college days, but his playmaking skills and defense were already at a top-tier level. And as you look down the roster for the Lakers, there's plenty of love in the prospect of a future squad with Brandon Ingram at the helm and his future cast of characters, whether they can become potential all-stars or not, with Lonzo Ball or Randle alongside a great play of Jordan Clarkson, who would, funny enough, get traded later this season, Josh Hart, and Kyle Kuzma. The potential is there for a new era of Lakers basketball, but as the summer started and rumors circulated, the youth era of the Lakers were being threatened as a certain player had interest of coming to the city of purple and gold.
We've got breaking news. LeBron is a Laker.
LeBron James is a Los Angeles Laker for what ought to occupy the final act of his NBA story.
4-year, $154 million a max deal. That's what he can sign in LA. Likely an opt-out after 3 years that could put him back in free agency or negotiate a new deal.
First of all, I'm ecstatic. I think it was the right situation, the right call for him to make. He wasn't going to get anything accomplished in Cleveland. That was obvious. Philadelphia, it just wasn't a good fit for him to be paired with Ben Simmons, not to mention the fact that, in terms of their playing style and the locale as well, going from Cleveland to Philadelphia, just didn't make much sense. But the big thing is that you got to give kudos to Magic Johnson.
So LeBron came to this decision a few days ago, Zubin. He's been letting some select people in his life know that this was coming. He wanted to, before I made a final decision, go through a process which included speaking with people in the Lakers organization, which took place within the last 24 hours. He was already headed here as long as the Lakers didn't drop the ball, which clearly they didn't.
Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles, right around 8 p.m. Eastern, LeBron informed Magic Johnson of his plans to join the Lakers. They ironed out the length of that contract. Now, the contract length is important here. That is a commitment saying that I don't feel this urgency to make sure we go all in this summer. If we didn't get Paul George, if we didn't get Chris Paul, if we don't get Kawhi Leonard, that's okay. I believe in the team and the structure you put in place in Los Angeles. I want to be a part of it.
Yep, I'm sure you remember the hype that LeBron generated when he announced that he'd be joining the Los Angeles Lakers. But it wasn't just about the basketball, it's the location, the business opportunities, the marketing, so many things that wrapped into this one decision that made LA the best place to be. Because just like his other two stints in Cleveland, if he was going to make a team worthy of being a championship caliber squad, he needed to make a big trade every single time, because no one, and I mean no one, wants to live in Cleveland, Ohio long term.
Do you regret anything that you said about Cleveland?
Not at all. You like it? You think Cleveland's cool? I mean, I never heard anybody say I'm going to Cleveland on vacation.
So if he wants to be able to attract all these big time free agents and other players to come to where he is playing, why not go to the best NBA location in the US, Los Angeles, California? As much as this was a basketball move, this was for sure more of a business move at the same time. He did what he could in Cleveland in both stints, but no one is willingly coming to Cleveland without being forced there in a trade, and even then, they're going to try to leave as soon as possible. But in LA, it opens the door for anyone to walk in, enjoy the sunny beaches, the nice weather, and whatever else is in California. I've never even stepped foot in that region of the US. But we will be talking about the many effects of LeBron James joining the Lakers, and it first starts with him arriving in general. That youth movement is now in danger of ending very soon, and one of the pillars of that youth movement has to be let go, and it starts with Julius Randle. Going into the 2018 offseason, his original 4-year rookie deal, including the 2-year team extension, has ended, and he is looking to get his first real NBA contract as the oldest member of the youth movement. But with LeBron James coming to town and signing a max 4-year deal, that leaves nothing for Julius, or at least not as much as he would actually want in a real contract. What makes this even worse is the fact that the Lakers renounced his rights they had to Randle to give LeBron that max deal, meaning his time with the Lakers was basically over. Also, when you add the fact that Mitch Kupchak is no longer the GM and is now replaced with Magic Johnson as the executive, their plans for the franchise outright differ from what Mitch wanted, which created a clear overhaul of ideals. And what Magic wanted was a huge splash to bring his good old team in the Lakers back to their former glory. And with them so easy giving up an up-and-coming player like Julius Randle for nothing also means that the rest of the young players on the team are expendable if something better comes along. And oh buddy, we'll talk about that later. And as we all know how LeBron feels about roster construction, if the 2018 Cavaliers wasn't foreshadowing enough. Just like clockwork though, the GM was once again in charge, and this was basically a clear canvas for him and Magic Johnson to create a masterpiece with. However, it wasn't pretty to start off with, because they still had the likes of KCP, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Mo Wagner, Kyle Kuzma, and Josh Hart from the season before. So that clears up a lot of room for the front office, or the front office, to add some vets and at least attempt a run at the playoffs in year one with a mix of old school and new school. And the names he brought in created a lot of funny headlines, because in the span of a few weeks, they signed the likes of Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, and Michael Beasley to round out the rest of the roster. With those signings though, caused a lot of concern around the franchise and its fans, because is the LeBron takeover coming that soon? Well, if our trade happened before the season even starts, the Lakers weren't even trying to be discreet when it came to the future of all the draft picks they had in the past if an offer were to be made to Magic Johnson himself. But the offseason stayed quiet after that, and no moves were made. So that just means that it's time to see if this Los Angeles Lakers team was truly going to put LA back on top. It's LeBron James and the Misfit crew, possibly his most unconventional team he has ever had to play with. Not as bad as the 2018 Cavs season, but a close second. And as we all know, due to Los Angeles being one of the biggest sports markets in the US, if not the biggest, and LeBron James joining that market, the media will be watching very closely at everything they do and reporting on everything they do. Even some really stupid stuff. If you watch ESPN today, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And while they were doing better than last year, it wasn't much of an improvement, which is crazy to say considering LeBron James added himself to this roster. But from the outside looking in, there were some very noticeable team construction problems on the roster, and it showed when they played. First off, the coach that they had at the time in Luke Walton was a complete bust as a coach, and LeBron himself wasn't a big fan of his abilities as a coach, even though he was brought in to help with the young players' development, something he wasn't the best at either. Second, this team did not fit LeBron James' strength as a player, which didn't help him maximize his potential as a player. It didn't help others be much help to him. And with the Lakers being bottom 10 in made three-pointers and second to last in three-point percentage, this team wasn't made to compete immediately. And outside of LeBron James, there were only like 3 or 4 other players who actually fit well with him in this very interesting season. Brandon Ingram was a competent second option to LeBron and was basically allowed to play his own brand of basketball, even with LeBron on the team, which a lot of people found surprising, thinking that he caved under the usual stresses of being a teammate of LeBron James. But even as his numbers didn't pop out at you, his impact as the second in command was there, even if fan bases all around tried to make him crack game by game.
Golden State was 9 for 21 from the field. Previous 4 before that, remember when he was on that ridiculous tear, shot 70% during those 4 games. He has averaged 22 over the last 7, so it's been a nice run for him offensively.
Kyle Kuzma continues to show his ability to fit in with any team as a player, averaging nearly 19 points per game and even playing more games than Brandon Ingram, making himself a valuable asset to the team, using his opportunity to really make himself shine as a name in LA. And JaVale McGee continues his resurgence in the league after his time in Golden State as a full-time starter for the first time since his early 20s. But after that, the team was full of inconsistencies everywhere. It even got so bad that Legime himself tried to make a push at the playoffs by making the team more LeBron friendly by trading away third-year center Ivica Zubac to the in-arena rival Los Angeles Clippers for simply Mike Muscala, a three-point shooting big man, a move that Lakers fans to this day don't appreciate. And shout out Ivica Zubac, that's my center right there. The same would be done a day earlier to receive Reggie Bullock from the Pistons, but this time only for Steve Mikhailuk and a future second-round pick. But you could tell just from that, LeBron wanted something to happen ASAP. But it wouldn't even matter because LeBron James would face his first ever legitimate injury at the age of 34 after hurting his groin literally on Christmas Day of 2018. So it only made the season that much worse by the All-Star break. The Lakers were 28-29 as the Lakers struggled when LeBron was injured, going 6-12 since that injury. And it truly never got better for the rest of the season, even with the little changes to the roster to make this team more suited for LeBron James. Before the injury on Christmas Day, the Lakers were sitting 6 games over 500 and was the 4th seed in the West. And even with the weird team structure, they made it work, obviously. Now, was it a championship team? Maybe. I mean, you got LeBron James in the playoffs. That is a real thing. But while LeBron was injured, they fell all the way down to the 9th seed and now fighting for a playoff spot. But after his return to the Lakers, they just truly never recovered. They suffered from an injury to Brandon Ingram in March that sidelined him for the rest of the season, and the Lakers went 9-16 to the end of the year after the All-Star break to a pretty disappointing 37-45. One of the few times LeBron James ever had a negative record, and one of the few times LeBron James has ever missed the playoffs. Now, let's be real though, without the LeBron injury, I'd be talking about the potential playoff run and blah, 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 blah. But in reality, the Lakers had a very interesting season with not a lot to write home about due to that fatal injury. So now the Lakers and their season has a lot more questions than anything because it has a lot of questions about LeBron's health as he's about to turn 35. And it's becoming mainstream alongside the fact of how much longer does LeBron have left to be Well, LeBron, and don't consider how he was today. Just go back to 2019 in your mind. And with LeBron knowing that he has a lot in the form of young players, picks, and just tradable assets in general, he knows that he needs help. And he is going to get that help by any means necessary. The 2019 offseason for the Lakers is one of the most important offseasons in a long time for the franchise. Somehow, someway, the stars aligned when it came to a lot of players ending their contracts in the exact same year to create one of the best free agency classes of all time, honestly, especially when considering the amount of star movement that happened that summer. And if you are a Lakers fan or just an NBA fan in general who keeps up with the sport, you knew that anyone who was anyone that was linked to the Lakers in some way was going to get some type of Photoshop of them in a Lakers jersey. Some of these free agents include Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Tobias Harris before his reputation got ruined, Kemba Walker, Chris Middleton, Kristaps Porzingis, D'Angelo Russell, Nikola Vucevic, and honestly, I can just keep going down the line. This class had everything, and if you have the money and the ambition, you can create a championship contender this summer. But before we address that, let's step back about a month, because before changes could happen to the roster, change is happening to the organization first. And it starts with Magic Johnson resigning with the Lakers organization on April 9th, 2019. Some people thought he just couldn't take the heat as an executive anymore, but in a very viral segment of First Take where he came to talk about his time with the organization, he only spoke negative about one thing: the way Jeanie Buss allowed the organization to be ran.
Does Magic Johnson feel betrayed, and if so, by whom?
Well, you know, I think if you're going to talk betrayal, it's only with Rob. But again, I had to look inside myself, right? But I had been doing that for months because I didn't like that Tim Harris was too involved in basketball. He's supposed to run the Laker business, but he was trying to come over to our side. Jeannie's got to stop that, right? You got to stop people from having those voices, Molly, you talked about. It's too many people at the table. And so what happens, everybody gets to share their opinion, and it's so much information coming at her that then when I say, hey, we have to do this, she can't make a decision because they said, no, don't go the way Magic go, you should go left.
Other people already got to her, and in the back of her mind, yeah.
So her love for those people and respect for those people often caused us to not make the right choice, or there's no decision, Max. And so I said, listen, you can't run a corporation like this. You can't have everybody think that they can have a voice or opinion about the final decision. That was supposed to be me as the president having that final say.
So rather to continue to allow the many voices around Jeanie to cloud her judgment and not allow Magic to make decisions, he just up and left it to them and said good luck. So now it props up Rob Pelinka to be the top dog in the front office, and it is up to him to lead this new era of the Lakers with LeBron James, and most importantly, bring another championship to LA. And he starts things off by firing Luke Walton and quickly hiring Frank Vogel only 4 days later. And now we go back into free agency with a new core in the Lakers front office with Vogel and Pelinka at the helm. Who will be the player now that is going to help LeBron James go after another NBA championship? Well, Kyrie Irving, KD, and DeAndre Jordan all went to Brooklyn. Kawhi Leonard signed with the Clippers and now becomes rivals with the Lakers. Jimmy Butler signed with the Miami Heat, and any other player that was associated with the Lakers free agency decided to avoid the Lakers and go their own way. But even if you're trying to bolster and team in free agency, that does not mean you have to sign that player to take your way over the top. Sometimes it's a trade.
We're going to switch gears right here because you know what's funny, Zubin? You think that the NBA season is over when the Toronto Raptors, they crown themselves champions? Oh, no, it is not. We got breaking news into SportsCenter.
We do. I think the NBA offseason has become more interesting than the NBA regular season, and this is the biggest one of all. The Pelicans have agreed to finally trade Anthony Davis to the Lakers. Now, here's the compensation package. Everybody's wondering, what would they give up? Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram. Remember, Ingram has the blood clots in his arm, so that's an issue. Josh Hart, and 3 first-round picks including the number 4 overall pick in the 2019 draft, which will air this Thursday on ESPN.
The move of the summer. More hype than the Clippers getting Kawhi Leonard and Paul George together, and more hype than KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn. No, the Los Angeles Lakers just made the top duo in the NBA with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And the NBA is officially scared of the Lakers once again for the first time in a long time. If you watched my Anthony Davis video from a few months ago, which you should by the way, Anthony Davis' last 2 years in New Orleans really showed the shades of LeBron James' time in Cleveland, where he knew that his front office and his location, New Orleans, wasn't going to be enough to win a championship. And with DeMarcus Cousins leaving for Golden State due to a contract dispute after their best season the year before, that was the last straw. AD was mentally out and asked for a trade, so at least the Pelicans needed something in return, or go through another year of him doing nothing and he can leave in the 2020 free agency class for nothing. In return though, the Pelicans got a huge package of Brandon Ingram, who will now lead the new era, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and 3 unprotected first-round picks. But for a player like Anthony Davis, an MVP candidate at one point, and some would say is a top 5 player in the league, this is chump change for someone of AD's caliber. It is very rare you see a combo of a top 5 player like this on the same team, especially with AD only being 25 at the time of this trade. So truly, the sky's the limit, and AD can take over for LeBron when he eventually starts to decline, and he can lead the team. Whenever that happens, think about today. But anyways, with more of the youth movement on the team being taken away, it opens up more for veterans to come in and surround LeBron with what makes LeBron-led teams, and make the Lakers an immediate title contender. And man, the people they got for this squad were the complete opposite of the misfit crew they had the year before. JaVale McGee and Rajon Rondo stayed on the team and played clear roles, but Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson will be banished from the team, and it will be their last time in the NBA since then. But the replacements for those two, and to bolster the rest of the roster, easily made the Lakers the team to beat this upcoming season. Danny Green, who just won a championship with the Raptors, came in for 2 years and $30 million. They signed back KCP for 2 years and $16 million. They signed Boogie Cousins to a 1-year, $3 million deal to see if he can get his health back in order and to reunite AD and Boogie again. Alex Caruso impressed enough to receive his first ever standard contract. Jared Dudley and Troy Daniels came in as shooters, and finally, as impact players, Avery Bradley came in for a 2-year, $9 million deal, and Dwight Howard got signed right before training camp at the ripe age of 34 years old for a 1-year, $2 million deal. That is how you conquer free agency. With the mix of top-tier role players and shooters to complement AD and LeBron, the Lakers are now in a fine position to win a championship immediately. And alongside the fact that Kyle Kuzma is the perfect third option for this team, and you have a great defensive-minded coach in Frank Vogel, and what seems to be a team with very little egos and guys willing to play a role, this could be the best GM job of the century, depending on how long this team can keep up their powers and how many championships they can win with this core of AD and LeBron. Before the season even started, Vegas had both the Lakers and Clippers as the 1 and 2 best odds to win a championship that year, and both teams made very viral moves to make the teams they've created. But this is a Lakers video, obviously. The Clippers, well, we'll get to that one eventually, and then you'll be able to hear me complain for like 3 hours again. Back to the Lakers though, the concerns that people seen in this Lakers squad was 100% warranted during the summer, because the 17-2 start that they had to the season was one of the best in its franchise history, and it wasn't any type of fluke wins or close games. These were blowouts and 10-point blowouts that we're talking about here. 120-101 against the Hornets, 120-90 against the Grizzlies, 120-94 against the Golden State Warriors, 122-101 against the Hawks, 114-104 against the Spurs, and a 123-103 win against the Wizards. Sure, some of these wins weren't against the best of teams, but domination like that at the NBA level creates chemistry, and chemistry creates good times, and the good good times only kept on rolling for the Lakers in the regular season. Things got so good for the Lakers that they kept their 1 seed ranking in the West for the entire season, with barely anyone being able to compete, staying way above the NBA world, with only more and more people complimenting the 1-year turnaround the Lakers pulled off, getting LeBron James and AD together. However, there were some low points for the Lakers that didn't even involve the team in the slightest, because before a January 20th game against the Celtics that was going to be nationally televised by TNT, some of the worst news for Lakers fans will be broadcasted all around the world.
Good evening. Welcome to ESPN SportsCenter. Zubin Mehenti. I'm Michael Lees. Breaking news in this Sunday afternoon. 5-time NBA champion, former league MVP Kobe Bryant died earlier this afternoon in Los Angeles in a helicopter crash. News reports are just coming in. Among multiple victims, Kobe Bryant on that helicopter.
Kobe Bean Bryant, one of the best players of our generation, passed away in such a tragic way on the 20th of January, and the entire basketball world was grieving due to his passing. At only 41 years old and only a few years into retirement, Kobe Bryant had many years left to live after spending nearly half of his life playing in the NBA, already trying to give to the next generation with his daughter and his basketball team that he looked over. Multiple people passed away in this incident that created a pretty horrifically grim atmosphere for anyone in the sports world. And the Lakers themselves felt that by losing their upcoming game by the biggest margin that season of 32 points by the Boston Celtics. A double whammy to some people because this involved Boston. They would remember his passing with the Mamba Forever jerseys they wear at select games and playing to the best of their abilities for the Mamba. But to lighten things up once again, the Lakers would celebrate them having 2 All-Stars going into the break with a 41-12 record, which is above and beyond the best record in the NBA at that point. And obviously, with that, LeBron James and AD will be highlighted as the Western Conference starters for the All-Star game. The first time the Lakers would send 2 starters since 2013 with Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard. But as they continue to cruise after the All-Star game with an 8-2 start, there would be another low point for the Lakers this time that could actually end the season prematurely. Yep, you remember it, I remember it, everyone around the world remembers it. The NBA would be shut down effective immediately due to the rising concern of the viral coronavirus, and especially after a certain DPOY winner decided to show why he's the best defender in the world by quite literally locking up the league in a very viral interview. I found it funny, but the world didn't. And due to this, the NBA season is now in jeopardy. The league tried to make the most out of it because obviously as a business, you don't want to see any bad press for potentially putting the players in danger in a legit contact sport with a virus spreading like wildfire. However, the NBA came up with an idea to create a conclusion to the season months later, and that was with the NBA bubble. Now, I won't get into the specifics of the bubble itself. Maybe in a few years, make a huge retrospective on the entire thing. But for anyone who needs a reminder, the NBA bubble at Disney was going to serve as a setup where the NBA can be concluded in a lockdown facility that'll have the results of minimal cases of the virus, so everyone can be able to play without the fear of getting sick, and the NBA can conclude its season as best as possible. However, for those who remember it, the NBA actually did a league-wide vote asking every team and player who was eligible to participate if they wanted to continue the season. The story of the day was the fact that the top 2 seeds in the NBA and in the Western Conference, Clippers and Lakers, did not want to continue the season in the bubble, and as the top 2 teams in the league, I'm sure that caused quite a stir for the organization. Just imagine being locked away from your family for a month or more, with the only people you can come face to face with was with your teammates and staff members. I'd also say no. But the show must go on, and the NBA bubble starts alongside the newly introduced NBA play-in games. However, as a tiny note, players were allowed to not participate in the bubble if they chose to, and the only player for the Lakers who didn't want to was the starter in Avery Bradley. He was soon replaced with old LeBron buddy J.R. Smith to join the fun, but losing out on Bradley isn't the biggest red flag in the world for their potential run at an NBA championship. But just like a lot of teams, the NBA bubble was a pretty interesting time on and off the court. For the Lakers in particular, though, they looked pretty vulnerable and almost like they did in the regular season. But considering that some of the guys haven't played organized basketball in months and all the other factors you can think of, the Lakers just didn't look like the Lakers, losing by 15 to Toronto Toronto, by 19 to the Thunder, by 16 to the Rockets in the final bubble game, losing by 14 to the Kings and giving up 132 points. At the end of the day, though, the Lakers, despite the 3-5 record in the bubble, going into the playoffs as the first seed in the West. But the media still believed the Lakers were beatable due to their lackluster bubble finish. I wish I could find an NBA ESPN segment to show y'all what the media was talking about, but just take my word for it. I can clearly remember people talking about how the Lakers can potentially even be upsetted in the first round, Dirk Nowitzki style. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, LeBron and AD will both be awarded places on the All-NBA first team, with LeBron getting second place in MVP votes behind Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Anthony Davis getting placed second in DPOY votes behind Rudy Gobert, showing once again that this duo could be an all-time duo with a mix of dominance on both sides of the basketball, especially being the first LA duo since Kobe and Shaq to be on the All-NBA first team together. But with a 52-19 record, they clinched the best record in the West, and the playoffs was ready to start, with their first opponents being one of the best offenses in the NBA, the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, even though they were the legitimate 8th seed to end the season with a 35-39 record, the Blazers were still thought to be threats strictly because of the bubble MVP. Yes, it was a real thing. Damian Lillard, who exploded for 37 points a game in the 8-game bubble regular season games. And just like how a lot of guys took advantage of the crowdless games and different court structure, Damian Lillard came ready for war. Game 1 only proved that to be more than the truth, with the 8-seeded Blazers beating the Lakers 100-93, led by Damian Lillard's 34 points and 6 made three-pointers, while the Lakers all around outside of LeBron James struggled, especially Anthony Davis taking a game-high 24 shots and only making 8 of them, because shout out to Kobe. But due to no home court advantage, despite the NBA's best efforts to create a similar atmosphere for it, every game was basically a neutral site game, and the Blazers took full advantage of that from the jump. However, just like a 2K player, when it's time to get serious, the Lakers knew what they had to do and locked in and be the team everyone expected them to be. Game 2 saw the Lakers shutting down the Trail Blazers for only 88 points and beating them by 23 points, seeing AD step up for 31 to lead all scorers, while Dame and CJ got locked down. And unfortunately, Damian Lillard would also sustain a finger injury in the middle of the game, which doesn't help the Blazers' chances of beating the Lakers. Game 3 saw the Blazers take a halftime lead due to the combined efforts of CJ and Dame combining for 39 points in the first half, but LeBron had his own amazing half with 22 points himself. But in the second half, you see Anthony Davis go for 23 second half points, and LeBron contributing 16 more to dominate the rest of the game and never look back to create possibly the best game of the series so far. AD and LeBron combined for 67 points, while the Portland trio of Dame, CJ, and Carmelo Anthony, remember when he was on the Trail Blazers, combined for 92 points. But the Lakers won 116-108 despite of that. Game 4 was over at halftime with the Lakers up 80-51, with the final score being 135-115. And finally, with Damian Lillard out for Game 5, that was the Blazers' white flag being waved, and the Lakers won 4 straight games in a row, beating the Trail Blazers 4-1. An expected outcome, but it was a fun series, and it seemed like the Lakers found their groove playing them, which is bad news for the next team coming up, the 4th-seeded Houston Rockets, another team people believe could upset the Lakers, one of the best scorers in the NBA, James Harden, and also the interesting strategy of pace and space with PJ Tucker and Robert Covington being their power forward and center. And considering that the Lakers are starting one of the tallest starting lineups in the league, with LeBron at point guard and having JaVale McGee and AD as their front court, the Lakers got a crazy advantage in their own way. But it seems like the Lakers treat Game 1s like it's a feel-out game, losing it off the jump by double figures, 112-97. Once again faced with another killer offense for the second series in a row, the Lakers are either going to have to slow down their pace or get one of their 2 stars to falter. Game 1 saw Russell Westbrook go 10-24, and that was the person the Lakers chose to go after and beat them the rest of the series. Game 2 is what the Lakers figured out what they needed to do and executed. LeBron James and AD combined for 62 points, and for the Rockets, things look a lot different this time around. For one, James Harden received a lot more pressure from the defense to make him rely on his co-star Russell Westbrook, and they got exactly what they wanted out of him. Game 2, Russ went 4 of 15, 1 of 7 from 3, and turned over the ball 7 times. It was ugly, and the Lakers wanted it that way. Game 3 was different though, with the Rockets 62 points from the duo, and crazy enough, 21 points from Rondo off the bench, and Russ and Harden went for 63. But the Lakers were unstoppable going inside, which allowed the Lakers to storm away in the fourth quarter, especially with Rajon Rondo scoring 12 of his 21 points in that final quarter. Game 4 saw a lineup change so AD can play center, with Markieff Morris getting the starting nod for more spacing to play the same game as the Houston Rockets. And it worked out with a 10-point win for the Lakers. And finally, Game 5 saw another blowout win for the Lakers, doing the exact same thing they did to Portland, losing game number 1 and then hitting them with 4 straight wins with very little struggle. The Lakers continue to show why they are the best team in the NBA, with a mix of star power, defense, and veteran assistance. And we were looking at a battle of LA in the bubble, so not really LA, whatever. We were looking at the first ever Clippers versus Lakers playoff series, but as they blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, the Lakers now had a new foe to prepare for. The Nuggets have been through the ringer and are battle tested through 2 straight 3-1 series comebacks on their way to the conference finals. But now they have to deal with the most dominant team in the playoffs and 2 of the best players in the league. Anthony Davis showed out in game 1 with a 37-point explosion against the Jokic-led Nuggets, making easy work of them 126-114. Game 2, though, was a game originally controlled by the Lakers, having at most a 15-point lead at the end of the second quarter. But as the Nuggets started to chip more and more into the lead, something they usually would do in these playoffs at the 7:26 mark, they would finally take over. And as the 2 teams fought, and as Jokic made a hook shot to potentially win the game with 20 seconds left, the Lakers have one more opportunity to not let the Nuggets tie the series.
Seconds remaining. Denver a foul to give. Jokic trying to disrupt Rondo. He puts it in. Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers!
In a surprising move for the Lakers, the call was to give Anthony Davis the game-winning shot as he went ahead the screen. Mason Plumlee calls for Jokic to take the contest, where AD's shooting form does the rest, shooting over Jokic and making it with no hesitation, winning the game with the time running out and taking the 2-0 series lead. But this would serve as a warning that none of these games will be easy, and the Nuggets will come battle ready for whatever the Lakers threw at them. Game 3 was a game where the Nuggets took off the jump and was making everything, with a combination of Jokic, Murray, and Jeremy Grant combining for 77 points in a super efficient game. But Game 4 seeing the roles reversed once again, with the Lakers taking full control of the game after the first quarter and never looking back, with AD and LeBron combining for 70 points together and avoiding Jamal Murray's super efficient 32-point game. And now, game number 5, with the Nuggets down 3-1, everyone is wondering all around the world from the comfort of their homes, because they can't go outside, if the Nuggets can somehow do it again. Their 3rd straight 3-1 comeback. Well, it's safe to say that once the Lakers have figured you out, this series is over. Game 5 saw the Lakers lead the game for all but 7 minutes of in-game time, and again, the duo of LeBron James and Anthony Davis continue to be the best duo in the NBA, with no way to stop both of them, and even if one falters, the other one steps up. Another 65 points combined, and the team going 24-29 for the free throw line helps a lot. The Nuggets didn't have the defense good enough to try and contain those two, and with both players averaging over 50% from the field in the entire series, it only makes this series that much harder to win. Another Game 5 series win for the Lakers, and now they return to the finals for the first time since 2010, a near decade-long hiatus. And their opponents, the 5th-seeded Miami Heat. A weird team for sure, and a team going through its own struggles. But the Lakers had a huge advantage in many ways once again, and are only 4 games away from winning this championship. Game 1 was a wash in many ways. Bam ended up leaving midway through the game due to a left arm injury, and that meant AD and LeBron were able to dominate the paint like they usually do, not having to deal with a DPOY level defender waiting for them on every drive to the paint, combining for 59 points. The story of Game 2, though, was the fact that Bam was out the entire game, and the mix of Kelly Olynyk and Myers Leonard was not going to be enough defense to handle the might of AD and LeBron, who combined for another 65 5 points. This entire playoff run, the Lakers haven't been a defense able to contain them, and the story continues here in the NBA Finals. Game 3, though, is where we see a change that made this finals a bit more interesting, and that was the solo show of Jimmy Butler going for a 40-point triple-double, going 14 of 20 from the field, and also getting 2 steals and 2 blocks. Let's not forget this picture that also became the new meme after the game, but the series isn't over yet. How many times can the Heat rely on LeBron James and AD to have bad games for them to win? And how many more performances can Jimmy put up of similar impact? Because they need 3 more wins, and they won off of very unconventional means. Game 4 saw Bam Adebayo return from this injury and cause AD more trouble, but like I said earlier, if one is going to be targeted, the other one will step up, as LeBron James scored 28 points and almost earned a triple-double himself for the Lakers to win 102-96. And now, once again up 3-1, the Lakers are another 48 minutes of playtime away from winning another championship and starting a potential dynasty with LeBron James and AD in LA. First, there was Weston Chamberlain, then Magic and Kareem, then Shaq and Kobe, and you can even say Kobe and Gasol, they won 2 championships. Now, it is time for LeBron James and AD to be the next chapter of dominance for the Lakers. But Game 5 had Jimmy Butler do what he did in Game 3 over again, dominating from both sides of the ball and earning another high-point triple-double. But this time, AD and LeBron played up to par, and the game stayed tight the entire time with barely any room to breathe outside of a few good runs. But in the final minute is where the true chaos of the NBA Finals that everyone yearns for happened. With Jimmy Butler making his final 11th and 12th free throw of the game, the Lakers are now down by a singular point with 16 seconds left. Now, the Lakers haven't had many close situations like this late, especially being the team that is behind, but we've seen what happened the last time, an open 3 for AD, and he closes the deal. This time, LeBron James is going to be the decision maker, and as he forces down the lane and causes so much eye traffic with everyone waiting to see when he'll go up for a potential layup or dunk on Bam Adebayo, he does something that he has been seen to do plenty of times. Passes the ball out to Danny Green to allow him to make the game-winning shot to win his 3rd championship and LeBron James's 4th. And it was the best decision at the time, as Jimmy Butler was ready to block his shot as he predicted, leaving Danny Green wide open at the top of the key. He then shoots and hits the front of the rim. Sure, it wasn't the best pass, having to catch the ball low and then come back up, but a wide open 3 from Danny Green at the end of the game needs to be the one shot that he makes. But he didn't. Markieff Morris did grab the offensive rebound though and tried to pass to the AD under the basket, but he turned over the ball and the Heat walked away with another win. 3-2 series for the Lakers. And as we all remember, the next day was the viral discussion all around the internet and media alike, asking why didn't LeBron James take the last shot. It was a dumb conversation to say the least, as it was the best move to make. Danny Green just didn't make the shot and they lost. That's all it is to it. It's funny to think though, a lot of people consider that moment for LeBron James a career low to this day, but plenty of legends have moments like that where the final shot doesn't end up in their hands. Sometimes it's given to somebody else to finish, and when they do, they become cult legends off of it. Shout out to Robert Ory. Speaking of legends, Game 6, the Lakers need to finish the job or the Heat will come into Game 7 with full momentum on their side. And as usual, I won't even stall about this game. The Lakers made easy work of the Heat with LeBron James doing what LeBron James does. He does not play around with his food. He garnered a 28-point triple-double, shooting 65% from the field and beating the Miami Heat 106-93 to win his 4th ever championship, and of course, being crowned as the Finals MVP once again. It may only have taken 2 years, but these 2 years showed the world that LeBron James knows how to win a championship. Now, winning it with his 3rd franchise and having a big influence of how this team was made. So as everyone celebrates, the question arises, can the Lakers do it again? I mean, they have all the power in the world to do it, a top-tier duo, a nice core role players, and an impeccable strategy. They can win multiple as long as LeBron stays in form as he gets older and AD can avoid his injury history that he had in New Orleans. So with the NBA bubble finally ending and people making their NBA bubble jokes as they still do to this day, it is time to see if the Lakers can somehow do it again. Will this somehow be the peak, somehow, some way be the peak of the LeBron James-led Los Angeles Lakers? Well, the Lakers did it. They got LeBron to come to the team with little issues despite the groin injury, and then the next year they traded for Anthony Davis and had a very easy time winning the 2020 NBA Finals. I'd call that a successful run and a successful job by everyone involved in the organization. But this video is being made for a reason. So let's continue down this very interesting rabbit hole. The Los Angeles Lakers enjoyed a summer of celebration as they won this championship for the franchise, and many people thought that they could do it again and many more times with similar ease as before. But as we already see, some interesting decisions being made by the front office had this generated hype all over, but also raised a few questions as of why they do this in the first place. For example, back in the free agency period, the Lakers tried to do the same thing as they did last summer, make their team even better. First, on November 18, 2020, Danny Green and newly drafted Jaden McDaniels will be traded to the OKC Thunder for the services of the Sixth Man of the Year runner-up, Dennis Schroeder. This move was so very popular amongst Lakers fans as they replaced the aging Danny Green, someone that they would deem as replaceable, for Dennis Schroeder, who had his best season with the Thunder the year before, averaging a career-high 18 points off the bench. So Dennis can now be the bench scorer the Lakers needed and can join Kyle Kuzma as another strong piece for depth for LeBron James and AD to enjoy playing alongside of. However, this does give away a very valuable starter and someone who can develop into a great player in a few years' time that fits this system as a potential 3-and-D player like he is right now. While researching this reasoning for this move, I was reminded that many players on this team was on expiring deals and the Lakers were trying to retain them all back, especially as some of them wanted bigger contracts for their contributions in that championship run. Due to this, you see the likes of Dwight Howard and Avery Bradley leave for other opportunities, and considering how much they provided, Pelinka had to make more moves to make this team stronger. Thus, the move for a secondary ball handler and a proven scorer in this league. They also re-signed back KCP to a 3-year, $39 million deal. Wesley Matthews will join the Lakers on a 1-year deal, and the actual Sixth Man of the Year winner in Montrezl Harrell would join the Lakers on a ring move, only taking a 2-year, $18 million move when he was offered more by other teams. The Lakers only look stronger with the additions of 2 Sixth Man of the Year candidates, but other moves will be made to make things a tad bit more confusing for some, while also making others very excited. First, the Lakers would trade away a key piece in their starting lineup all year in JaVale McGee to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Jordan Bell and Alfonso McKinney. Another head-scratching move, and now 2 starters are gone from this championship lineup. And that's only because there were rumors of another champion from the past wanting to join the Lakers, this time in the form of Marc Gasol, who joined the team on a 2-year, $5 million deal as a replacement in the starting lineup for JaVale McGee. Now, there's a saying that goes by the line of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the Lakers saw chances to actually innovate and improve their roster, and no one could really hate on what they were doing. They were making near 1-for-1 exchanges for players and adding more scoring depth to the team. Things were looking actually better to how things were going to be, adding a stretch big for AD to operate in the post and adding more relief for LeBron and AD off the bench. This team has a very low chance of failing and can repeat year after year if they keep this up. With that being said, you wouldn't be surprised to know that the Lakers had another great start to the season, just like last year, with a 21-6 start midway through February, just doing the same thing they did the year before: dominate. However, things were a little bit different last year, some would say in a good way, because this time around the Lakers had some pretty interesting factors going against them. Like this time around having a bottom 10 offense when it comes to offensive rating, despite having the star power and scoring potential on the team. But the Lakers had one glaring issue, and that's turnovers, being ranked the 3rd worst in that category in the league. Outside of that, they were pretty average at best offensively, but they didn't really need to beat you offensively when they owned the best defensive rating in the NBA that year and had the 2nd best scoring defense in the league. It was for obvious reasons, as you would imagine, with the paint being patrolled by AD and owning one of the best 3-point shooting defenses in the NBA on the perimeter. Championship formula for sure, but as the Lakers were enjoying this run once again, with only the Utah Jazz having a better record than them, an old friend decided to visit Anthony Davis for the first time as a Laker.
Davis A little shaken up after the plays. He got hit. Grabs that right Achilles area. That's where he missed a couple of games. It's been tender.
Anthony Davis, off of a non-contact move, injures his lower body once again. Some reports says it was an ankle injury, some say Achilles, some say calf, but whatever it was, the reports all said the same thing, that AD was going to be out for a long time to be able to recover at full strength, which means once again, LeBron James, at the age of 36, was all alone and had to lead this team until his second in command, to some his first in command, came back. You can tell it's going to be very rough for this team off the jump, with the Lakers going 3-7 in the next 10 games due to the loss of their defensive anchor and second best scorer. And no one really stepped up offensively that already had a team struggling with AD on the team right there, which made everything worse. LeBron would obtain another starting spot in the All-Star game, but even he would be hit with another injury, this time at the hands of Solomon Hill on March the 20th, 5 games after the All-Star break. Also, let me go on to say too, that after that injury, Solomon Hill was never seen again in the NBA. Just know those black SUVs are coming for you. This is possibly the worst thing that could have happened right after the Lakers won a championship too. They already tried to remedy this by getting Andre Drummond off the buyout market to get ready for the NBA play-in tournament, but in the time that both stars were out, the Lakers went a total of 14-16 without AD and 6-10 without LeBron James too. The luck didn't end there though, because Dennis Schroeder would get caught by the league's COVID protocol, making him miss the final 7 games of the season, and he was their third leading scorer. And with all this madness put together, the Lakers were able to escape with a 42-30 record. Their great start to the season really did save them at the end of the day, as you'd imagine, but due to the NBA play-in becoming a thing, they were forced to still battle for an opportunity to even make the playoffs in the first place. And if you notice on the screen, the Lakers, Mavericks, and Trailblazers all had the exact same record to end the season, and in a twist of cruel fate, the Lakers lost on both of the tiebreakers, causing the Lakers to be the 7th seed when they could have avoided the play-in altogether. But the only positive going into the play-in was the fact that LeBron James made the All-NBA second team, and outside of that, the Lakers season was nothing short of a disaster so far. But there are multiple points of optimism for this Lakers team going into the play-in. The main fact being that the Lakers are fully healthy for the playoffs, with Dennis back from COVID protocol and LeBron and AD ready to go after their second straight championship. However, as a lower seed. The next point of positivity is that they did win the play-in tournament. That means they would have the second-seeded Phoenix Suns as their opponents, who not many people are taking seriously as contenders, as they are led by Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton, especially considering that they had an easy matchup in the post, as they usually do, with AD and LeBron driving in 24/7 and creating plenty of free throws. And when they're at their best, the Lakers are truly the 1 seed. But first, they have to get through an old foe of LeBron James, the Golden State Warriors, going through their own injury-riddled season. The game was marketed as much-watched TV, with another classic LeBron versus Curry matchup, and these two teams did not disappoint as they desperately tried to get the 7th seed. This game was mostly dominated by Stephen Curry, who has been on a solo act all season, willing his team to this position in the first place, averaging a ridiculous 32 points a game. The goal was to stop Curry, and the Lakers couldn't do anything, unfortunately. He would turn over the ball 6 times. When it came to scoring, he was unstoppable. 10 points in the second quarter, another 11 in the third, and in the final quarter, he scored another 11. For the Lakers, they were able to keep up solely due to the fact that the Warriors were solely relying on Curry, and their defense were in the bottom half for scoring defenses. But Curry's dominance was felt as the Warriors were up 15 going into halftime, alongside more help in the 3-point range from the likes of Juan Toscano Anderson and Kent Bazemore. But the second half is where AD and LeBron started to terrorize the defense to slowly make this into a game, as that lead only went down to 2 points by the start of the fourth quarter. From there, it was a battle of the ages. AD took over in the post and Curry took over for the perimeter, over and over, back and forth. But as AD gets another dunk and Curry drains 2 free throws to tie the game 100-100 with 1 minute and 23 seconds left, LeBron James stole the show in his usual way and in the most soul-crushing manner.
Got clock at 7. James, 2 defenders on him to Caldwell Pope inside. He's tied up by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the 3. Oh, it's gone! LeBron James from downtown Arrives.
In a very botched possession by the Lakers and a damn near travel by KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope threw out the ball to LeBron James at the Staples Center logo for a miracle shot, and a miracle they got as LeBron James drains the three-point shot from limitless range. And with nobody else scoring after the fact, LeBron James served the kill shot to send the Lakers back to the playoffs as the official 7th seed. And that also means it is time for the Lakers to get ready to shock the world, or do what some people expect them to do and dominate the Phoenix Suns in the first round. I already explained why experts saw this series as an easy win for the Lakers, but again, it'll be really tough for this surging Suns team to handle the might of AD and LeBron at the same time. Game 1, to start off with, this series didn't exactly show what fans expected to see from the Lakers, as they were basically down the entire game and surprisingly saw AD getting locked up by the Suns. But just like in their run last year, the first game is always a feel-out game. Game 2 was much different as the Lakers saw 3 players score over 20 points, with AD being the highlight, scoring 34, while also going 18 of 21 from the free throw line, forcing the issue the entire game. And yes, I know the Lakers have been exposed for their favor by refs lately online, but in this game in particular, Devin Booker scored 31 while going 17 of 17 from the line himself. But the Lakers won at the end, leading most the entire game, 109-102. Game 3 is more of the same, 3 players scoring over 20 points, with AD being the highlight, having another 30-point night, clearly showing why experts predicted a 7-2 upset. This Lakers team was only so low standings-wise because of the injuries and misfortunes the Lakers went through all season. But speaking of injuries, once again, the one main criticism in Anthony Davis would peep its ugly head.
And he grabbed that left leg. Again, it was the left knee that he sprained in game 3. Stayed down a little bit and was kind of grimacing and hobbling up.
I think we got a challenge coming, Mike.
So a challenge on the, and this was him walking off the floor. You can kind of see that frustrated look for Anthony Davis, who still has not reappeared after going in at halftime.
Right after halftime, where the Lakers are only down by 4, Anthony Davis on a drive injures his groin, a new injury to his lower body, and now potentially is out for the entire series. It's not a good look at all, knowing that AD's scoring and gravity is the reason the series was in the Lakers' hands to lose. But him being injured most likely means the Lakers will lose unless LeBron turns back the clock. And at his age, I don't think he has it in him to do another 2018-like carry job. You can just tell that AD was the main piece after this injury because the Lakers were no longer in this game, and you could even say it was a sigh of relief for Suns fans and Suns players out there as they won by 8 points at the end to tie the series 2-2. From there, you could tell the Lakers were completely out of it with a 66-36 halftime deficit the next game, which only confirmed more and more without Anthony Davis, this team cannot compete. They rely on AD and LeBron to create a lot of opportunities for others, but when one of them is missing, everything falls apart, just like in the regular season. With the Lakers down 3-2 though, AD tried to give it one more go in this potential final game, but I'm not even going to show the footage this time. He got injured only a few minutes into that next game, once again serving as the kill shot for the Lakers season, and the Suns winning 113-100. The Lakers go from finals champions to first round outs, but is it really their fault? Not at all. They made arguably more improvements to their team from last year, and before the injury to both AD and LeBron, the Lakers were in perfect condition to win themselves yet another ring. And if you want to think about it deeper, if they were to beat the Suns and the team stayed healthy throughout, we'd be talking about how the Lakers would go on and potentially win their second championship against the Bucks in the finals, because as we all remember, the Suns' opponents were mostly injured all throughout that playoff route. But instead, the Lakers ran into a string of bad luck at the end and have to try again the next year, which is absolutely fine. But as we know, those injuries to Anthony Davis did a lot more harm than anyone could ever imagine for the fate of the Los Angeles Lakers. Google defines the definition of desperate as feeling, showing, or involving a hopeless sense that a situation is so bad as to be impossible to deal with. I do not find the situation of the Los Angeles Lakers in the summer of 2021 anywhere near the length of impossible to deal with. But something happened in the offices of the Los Angeles Lakers that caused everything to fall apart. Remember when I mentioned about what Magic Johnson said about the front office a year ago, about how there were simply too many people in the organization giving their opinions that it makes it hard to make even a singular decision? I think Rob Pelinka was seeing that firsthand in real time as the Lakers scrambled to fix a situation that already had a solution. AD just needs to be healthy and keep the team strategy friendly for their star duo. But something happened. I don't know whether it was LeBron speaking his mind or Rob not knowing how to build a team correctly, at least. But let's finally talk about the day the Lakers stopped being the Lakers. Once again, with a lot of expiring contracts, the Lakers have to deal with the same situation as last year. Who is going to come back and who is going to be replaced? Well, the Lakers had a change of mind for some reason about how to build their team, and it forever changes everything the Los Angeles Lakers had going for them.
The Washington Wizards agreeing to send that man, Russell Westbrook, to the Lakers. They gave up a lot, or the Lakers gave up a lot, I should say, to get him. The 22nd pick in last night's draft, plus Kyle Kuzma, plus Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, plus Montrezl Harrell. All of this according to our Adrian Wojnarowski, who's in with us.
August 6th, 2021. The Los Angeles Lakers make one of the most polarizing moves in their franchise history, with the Lakers being involved in a 5-team trade, sending away multiple pieces in their championship core in Kyle Kuzma and KCP alongside Montrezl Harrell and their pick in the draft for the services of a then 33-year-old Russell Westbrook. Now, you had some supporters and some decent points being made about how this move was a way to have LeBron James take a lesser role and to have Russ and AD take over the show. But everyone who is anyone was confused trying to understand why you trade all of that depth for Russell Westbrook. Sure, last year he raised the floor of the Washington Wizards, averaged some of the best stats of his career, but that was him as the best player on the team and the sole leader, and let's be real here, in a really weak Eastern Conference. He's going from that to playing alongside 2 other stars, and the fit for him alongside those 2 is rather questionable. So now with multiple spots open, how does the Lakers go about fixing and trying to make their team viable to play alongside AD, LeBron, and now Russ? Well, throw some shit at the wall and let's just see what sticks. Malik Monk, 1 year, $1 million deal. Kent Bazemore, 1 year, $2 million. Trevor Ariza, 1 year, $2 million. Dwight Howard makes another return on a 1-year deal. Kendrick Nunn joins the team on a 2-year, $10 million deal. And they re-sign Rajon Rondo and bring in DeAndre Jordan. But I think the person most fans were happy to see join the Lakers is LeBron 2003 draft buddy and Carmelo Anthony. But listen here, AD, LeBron, and Russell Westbrook eat up all the cap room on the team, and you're telling me that the best you can put together is a bunch of old veterans nearing retirement and young players try to prove their value in the league. Things got so bad that even a proven force on the team and Alex Caruso only wanted a measly 2-year and $20 million deal to return back to the Lakers. But the Lakers offered him less money, and as a counter, well, he just went on and said goodbye. I'm going to Chicago on an even bigger deal. And just to spoil things in the future, as we all know now, Alex Caruso is one of the best defenders in the league and a 2-time All-NBA defensive team member after he departed from the Lakers. The potential this trade had to turn into an all-time bust was high, but some people believe, myself included, to an extent, that if LeBron James was the reason that this move was made, maybe he had some type of plan for us. But if this fails, there's possibly no way the Lakers can recover from this. And I'll just say this right now, the 2022 Lakers was treated like the NBA's biggest clown show by the media. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong, and they were made fun of it for it heavily. But let's just start off with the main story. Russell Westbrook on the Lakers did not work, and the trade had no reason to be made in the first place. And just to make this simple, his fit on the team sucks, the role they had him playing sucks, and his role showed for it in his stats for everyone to see. Despite his usage being nowhere near where it used to be in his prime, or even in his time in Washington, where they relied on him more than ever, Russ was second in the NBA in total turnovers, fifth in turnovers per game, had the lowest box plus minus of his career, and overall was a complete black hole for this team that teams begged for him to have the ball in his hands. You can even find multiple compilations on YouTube of his crazy decision making and shot selection issues that Russ had, because he straight up did not fit on this team and was not having a good time physically, and I'm sure mentally, especially when his name was always in the media for how bad he was playing.
Is the Westbrook trade the worst in Lakers history?
But Russell Westbrook, young man, you got to know there was expectations when you called LeBron and Anthony Davis and said you wanted to be a Laker. You saw Kobe Bryant play and win all those championships, and Kobe said you were the guy. So you know you had to come here knowing that it's about championships when you put the purple and gold on. Quit battling the press, take ownership and accountability and say, hey, I haven't played well, but I got a chance to turn it around. So I'm tired of excuses. It's time to take ownership and say, I just been playing poorly, but hopefully I can turn it around.
To me, absolutely nothing. And the reason I say that is because what I saw from Russell Westbrook is no surprise. He's a walking triple-double. He can put up 30 anytime he wants. He can get 10 rebounds anytime he wants. He can get more than 8 assists anytime he wants to. If you want to make the argument that, yeah, him being on the court without LeBron James means that LeBron James will be able to get considerable rest of the season and they can still win games, that's about the only thing that I can point to. Outside of that, there's absolutely nothing that I take from this, because the only question about Russell Westbrook is whether he can coexist with LeBron and AD.
This is not a hot take. This is just being real. It's to the point where I'm almost to the point where I think it's almost best for Russ just not to play the rest of this season, because he's not there. When you hear a guy that you grew up watching in Magic Johnson criticize you the way that Magic did the other night, and saying how that if this don't happen, it would be the worst trade, and Russell Westbrook hasn't done this, that hurts a little differently. So right now, I understand Russ, and I understand him protecting his family, but I also understand that, hey, you're getting paid $40+ million. It's a certain level of expectations that you gotta, that's been held for you, that you gotta be able to, live up to.
It was a rough year for Russell Westbrook, but there were a lot of other factors that made this season in particular a lot worse. The second reason for their demise, that both LeBron James and AD were both injured for parts of the season. LeBron was legit playing his best basketball as a solo act because he legitimately had to. LeBron James was legit playing playoff basketball in the regular season to just keep his team heads above water. At 37 years old, he was averaging over 30 points per game, focusing on carrying his team offensively, and it was all for legitimately nothing. But LeBron James injuries are rare. Anthony Davis, on the other hand, missed 42 out of the 82 games, and it just put the Lakers further into the pit. To add on to this, the Lakers had 41 different starting lineups throughout the season, and the trio itself only played 21 games together. And their record, 11-10. Their record together was only 11-10. They potentially ruined their future for a singular game record over 500. And now they have to deal with each other for at least another season, bare minimum. Crazy thing is, LeBron James was actually keeping the team in the play-in race for most of the season, so if the Lakers could have sneaked into the playoffs, we could just never imagine what could have happened out of this clown show. But after the All-Star break, the Lakers went into a terrible 6-81 streak to end the season, and it was mainly due to injuries from AD, who missed most of those games in the latter half of the season. And as the final kill shot to the season that really killed the dream, going on a season high 8-game losing streak in their final 10 games of the season, which ends the season from hell. And guess what? The Lakers get the fun prize of trying to figure out how are they just going to fix this, because this will at least last another year, as Russell Westbrook's contract is eating up $40 million in that cap room. So let's review Once again, the Lakers shit the bed in the offseason, allowing Russell Westbrook to join this team due to him asking and LeBron James co-signing on it. That trade then ruins your cap space, and you have no way of getting any real help off the bench as in depth. That is noteworthy, which means more now than ever, this makeshift-ass Big Three will have to carry more than other years when it was just LeBron and AD. Add alongside the fact that LeBron is another year older and he just gave the Lakers all that he fucking could at 37 years old with no payoff, and AD is back to being a walking hospital visit, you get possibly one of the worst seasons Lakers fans ever had to sit through because they had expectations and were far below it. 2013 was a close second, but at least they made the playoffs off of Kobe Bryant giving all that he could. They just didn't live the expectations, and it just doesn't help the situation. But as the season ends, real questions have to be asked. How can this team ever recover from this god-awful trade? Because either you have to bury Russell Westbrook with draft picks to get him to a team to take him and to buy him out, or suffer for another year while both AD and LeBron get another year older. Add in the fact that Frank Vogel is fired because someone needs to be blamed. That only creates another LeBron-sized crater to deal with. So many questions, so little answers, but something has to change because the Russell Westbrook decision may have just ruined everything, and it can all be linked back to two people, LeBron James and Rob Pelinka. Well, the Lakers got a lot of fixing up to do. With the Lakers having 3 fully maxed players on contract, there is barely any flexibility to make moves or even sign any real help off the bench unless they come in for cheap willingly. So that means it's time for another potential struggle between the big 3, or somehow, some way, they just make it work in just one off season. But as the trend goes with the Lakers and head coaches since Phil Jackson, another one bites the dust, and now they need a new one. Their candidates this time around in this very crucial period is the likes of Kenny Atkinson, Bucks assistant Charles Lee, Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin, Mark Jackson, and former coach Terry Stotts. But the person they chose instead was a man whose biggest level of coaching at the time was in the G League. You know him, you love him, some of you may even hate him. His name is Darvin Ham. Pelinka during the interviews process found Ham to be the best option due to his no-nonsense approach to the game and his knowledge of the game itself due to his time in the NBA as a former player. But don't take it from me, listen to this quote from the man himself saying, "Our players and fans will immediately identify with Darvin's no-nonsense and hard work approach, which we feel will bring toughness and a competitive edge to all we do," Pelinka said in a statement. When you add that Darvin's sophisticated grasp of in-game strategy and deep knowledge of the game of basketball, we have the ideal coach for this next chapter in Lakers history. And if you really want to know what sealed the deal for Pelinka in the interview process, it was the fact that Ham had the best idea for how to fix the situation on the court with Russell Westbrook himself. I couldn't find any sources about what he'd say he'd do in particular, but what I did find is that he was hinting that Russell Westbrook may come off the bench this upcoming season, as he said in the interview, quote, "Russ and I had some really great one-on-one combos, and the biggest word I think that came out of that was sacrifice. I'm going to expect him to be the same tenacious, high-energy player he's been his entire career. A lot of that now may have him without the ball in his hand. Most of it now may have to be on the defensive end. But again, we have to sacrifice. There's no achieving anything without all parties sharing the load. Sacrifice instead of one-on-one. So changes will be made this upcoming season, and if it means Russ is off the bench, then he'd be the most expensive 6-man in NBA history. With the coaching situation over and done with, and with things looking a tad bit more optimistic due to what Darvin Ham said he has planned, there's still the issue of putting an actual team on the court. And with so little money available, it's going to be interesting on who the Lakers roll out with next year after last year's disaster. Well, once again, they can only do so much, and this is the best they can do. Just listen to this. Juan Toscano Anderson, 1 year, $2 million. Troy Brown Jr., 1 year, $2 million. Thomas Bryant, 1 year, $2 million. And Lonnie Walker, 1 year, $6 million deal. Once again, the Lakers can only do so much with so little money, and with the prospects of Russ' contract being out of the books next year, the Lakers are taking no chances on anything long term. So if things go bad again, they'll have plenty of money to continue their journey back to a championship team. But for now, this is the best they can do. They were trying to make things slightly better for them, though, by trading their young rotational piece from last year in Taylor Horton-Tucker, alongside former lottery pick Stanley Johnson, for the services of Patrick Beverley from the Utah Jazz. A very small price to pay for the former all-defensive team member, but last year when the Lakers were trying to make trades for the likes of Kyle Lowry and others, he was deemed as untouchable at one point in time. But at the end of the day, they only got Pat Bev as the interest of Taylor Horton-Tucker died out. And considering how he hasn't even improved to this day, I don't think teams regret not trading him at that time. And as the final piece to this interesting offseason, the Lakers would sign back their former Laker, Dennis Schroeder. The reason he left last year was due to him demanding a bigger contract after his contributions of what he did in 2021. And as you imagine, the OKC Thunder traded him away to avoid that exact same situation after he came off a career year. The Lakers offered him a 4-year, $81 million deal to stay with the team long term, but Schroeder wanted more and decided to test his value on the open market. He would then regret that decision, seeing that his open market value wasn't high at all, signing a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Celtics and crawling right back to the Lakers on a 1-year, $2 million deal. A lot of money was lost in that time. So hey, low cost, high reward move if you really think about it for the Lakers, and you should have taken the money, Dennis. Anyways, as the season starts, the expectations remain the same for the Lakers. People aren't exactly expecting much with this weirdly created team, but if Darvin Ham is cooking something, he better cook quickly, because the Lakers would start their season 2-10, an even worse start than last year, with all 3 stars healthy and playing. So yes, everyone's expectations were correct. The Lakers are officially cooked. And guess what? Remember when I mentioned that Darvin Ham's main reason he was hired was due to the willingness to bench Westbrook and try to get him to buy in? Well, he only started the first 3 games of the season and was officially benched after that point, with his new role on the team being the 6th man. But that didn't fix anything, as the team continued to lose over and over again, and Russ off the bench was able to do basically whatever he wanted, like he was the star, but this time off the bench. However, with very similar effect to last year. And something that I can never get over to this day is the fact that Russ averaged the 3rd most turnovers in the league in 2023, despite mostly playing off the bench. 28 minutes a game, that's all he got. So just know that Russ was never meant to work on this team. The trade was a complete bust in the very end. But that 2-10 start, though, for the Lakers would find some type of groove, going 8-2 in the next 10 games, now getting Russell Westbrook used to being off the bench, and AD and LeBron having their freedoms as the star players once again. But things will relatively stay the same, just hovering around the 500 spot or being under. But one main constant that Lakers fans just can't get over is the fact that AD's health is always affecting the outcome of the season in one way or another. On December 16th, only 28 games into the season, AD will once again receive another injury to his lower body, this time his foot would be damaged, and he'd have to take a few weeks to heal and come back at full strength, which means it is LeBron by himself once again, and now another year older. As you imagine, the Lakers were back to now losing consistently without AD as their main pillar of the team, and with changes needed to be made with AD now being injured again. Rob Pelinka had to get cooking and trying to save this season by any means necessary.
We've got trade news for you. Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that the Lakers have agreed to a deal to acquire Washington Wizards forward Rui Hachimura. That's in exchange for Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks. Hachimura was the 9th overall pick out of Gonzaga, remember, in the 2019 NBA draft. Here now with Woj. So Woj, can you just back us up a little bit here? How exactly did this trade come together?
This was a player, Hachimura, who had wanted to be moved, did not reach a contract extension on his rookie extension this summer and into the fall with Washington, and wanted to be finishing games. That wasn't happening, and Kyle Kuzma certainly moved into a significant role in this Wizards front line. And I think for Washington, this is a chance for them, to move on from Hachimura and get some draft capital back without taking salary back from the Lakers, and a Laker team now that obviously with Hachimura, gets a young wing player, wing defender, 3-point shooter, a corner 3-point shooter. He's shown some success doing that in the last couple of years, and I'm told the Lakers certainly would like to sign Hachimura to an extension this summer. He'll be a restricted free agent. But this, gets another young big wing in that Laker lineup who can defend and obviously make some open shots. They needed more shooting on this Laker team, and it's a player that they hope can help right away, and they certainly hope they can develop over time and into the kind of player people thought he would be when he was picked in the top 10 out of Gonzaga.
Sometimes in life, some situations are just too good to be true, and I consider this trade the Lakers made to be exactly that. The Wizards have a very promising young player who they aren't letting develop on an already bad team and can't get them to give him an extension. So in a string of favor, all the Lakers have to do to get the likes of a former top 10 pick is Kendrick Nunn, a player who has barely even played on the team, was a huge bust, and 3 insignificant second-round picks. All they got to do is appease him and simply let him grow as a player alongside giving him a worthy extension. And believe me, he will get every opportunity to prove himself on this Lakers team, desperately trying to bring themselves back to the playoffs and into relevancy as a team. For anything serious to happen, however, the Lakers need AD back on the court. And after a 20-game absence with the Lakers going 10-10 in that span, luckily, the Lakers would once again find themselves in a very fortunate situation that could change everything.
Adrian Wojnarowski is with us because we have a trade. Woj, what can you tell us about D'Angelo Russell heading to the Los Angeles Lakers?
Exactly that, Malika. 3-team deal that reunites D'Angelo Russell in the Los Angeles Lakers and sends out Russell Westbrook, that 2027 first-round pick. I'm told it's protected 1 through 4 in that season. That'll go to the Jazz. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, they'll acquire Mike Conley Jr. from the Jazz, 3 second-round picks. And the Jazz are also sending 2 more players to the Lakers, Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley. A massive deal tonight that brings D'Angelo Russell back to the team that drafted him out of Ohio State. And now Russell Westbrook, he's on his way to the Jazz. And now this is a Utah team, 15 first-round picks, protected and lightly unprotected through 2029 with all the good young players they have. So a Laker team that wanted to get better, that improves. I think certainly a starting point guard in Russell, who will be a free agent, who the Lakers could look to sign long-term after the season. And, good role players, Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley. Clearly, Rob Pelinka finally used one of those precious first-round picks. They still have their 2029 pick. And now the Lakers, 2 games out in the play-in in the West, they try to climb their way back.
Yep, I am sure everyone remembers this one. The Lakers took advantage of a team trying to not lose out on players for nothing and another team looking for a change in direction. If you watch my Timberwolves documentary, which you should, or I'll get the GM to trade your mom away for a second-round pick, the Wolves were seeing D'Lo as an asset not worth keeping around long-term, as he was on an expiring contract and looking to get paid after the season despite him having his best season efficiency-wise. So they wanted to trade for Mike Conley, who could do what D'Lo can already do, but for a much cheaper bag long term. For the Jazz, it was the exact same reason. Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt are both grenades in the form of NBA players, and they will blow up if you don't pay them and leave you for nothing. So why not give them to another team for it to be their problem? And if you don't see them as long-term fits, well, I guess there they go. For the exchange, though, the Lakers have to give up a future pick, and the Jazz have to hold on to the $40 million expiring contract of Russell Westbrook for them to buy out. Each team gets what they want, but the most risk lies with the Lakers taking 3 young players on expiring deals, but can use this opportunity, just like Rui Hachimura, as a way to get paid by the Lakers and stay long-term in the sunny city of Los Angeles, California. So while the internet is talking about how the Lakers low-key got bailed from this Russ situation, myself included, it's the Lakers who got to make the most out of these 3 new young players coming in and expiring contracts, or potentially drown in free agency next year. Sure, they have a lot of cap space opened up, but who says anyone wants to join the Lakers with a 39-year-old LeBron next year and AD who is injured every season? Oh yeah, and they did trade Pat Bev to get Mo Bamba, but I'm not going to go on a tangent about Mo Bamba. He didn't do anything for them for this season. But the rest of the season from this point on is an absolute movie. The Lakers started off as a 25-31 team on the 13th seed spot in the West, and if we're talking about them making the playoffs, they got a long way to go. But it was a journey worth watching because the Lakers were back in their 2019 form. And yes, 2 days before the trade happened, LeBron James broke the all-time scoring record, became an all-star, blah, blah, blah. But this season is more about the potential redemption of the Los Angeles Lakers journey back to being a play-in team. Specifically though, after the All-Star break is where you'd see the Lakers performing like how they used to. D'Lo is a 40% three-point shooter and served as a great off-ball threat for a LeBron to pass to, and as the third leading scorer. Jared Vanderbilt would turn into an amazing defender for the Lakers, which they desperately needed in the paint to help out AD. The likes of Rui Hachimura and surprise of the season Austin Reeves in his second season in the league were the bench threats the Lakers needed to relieve LeBron and AD, and Malik Beasley was a solid shooting threat. Once again, something the Lakers desperately needed. Over the span of that 1 month, the Lakers totally transformed their roster from old and barely holding on to youthful and hungry. Since the All-Star break, the Lakers went on an amazing 16-7 run to end the season, and it totally turned the season around. And with their win against the Utah Jazz in the last night of the season, fighting for that 7th spot as they could have fell to the 9th, the Lakers win 128-117. From 13th place to 7th, the Lakers are back and ready to compete once again with the very risky moves that they made in the trade deadline. Again, it can work in the now, but how are things going to look in the future? Because all of this can just be a one-season flash in the pan if they do not play their cards right. Once again, though, the Lakers are the victim of the NBA play-in format, though, and have to battle once again to even have the right to play in the playoffs in the first place, this time having to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Funny enough, just like last time, if they did beat them, they have to face against another young and vulnerable team in the Memphis Grizzlies. So if they beat the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies can become easy prey to a veteran team. By halftime, the Lakers were looking like they were struggling against this newly formed trio of Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards being down 49-60. But LeBron James is not one to give up so easily, turning back the clock and going a perfect 4 for 4 in the third quarter for 11 points. However, the Lakers were still behind by 7 going into the fourth, with their season potentially on the line. The fourth quarter, however, is when everything slows down and where the Lakers started to strike back and take control of the game, making the Timberwolves turn over the ball 6 times in the quarter and only allowing 3 made field goals in that time. The Lakers offense wasn't much better, but they were able to scrape by with just enough time to tie the game off of LeBron James 3 with 2 minutes left. And somehow, in true playoff fashion, the Lakers and Wolves proceed to match each other in missing shots over and over again and turning the ball over and over again with no team taking the lead. Until Dennis Schroeder saved the game with a corner 3 ball off an amazing LeBron James drive, doing once again the smart basketball play and letting his teammate get the glory off his gravity as a player, because as usual, everyone was way too concerned with what LeBron James was going to do at the time, which left Dennis Schroeder open to drain the 3 with only 1 second remaining. And as you'd think this would all be the end, they go on to make the playoffs, it was time to face the Grizzlies. The refs had other plans.
If you're going to take a foul, Anderson looks for the open man. It's a 3 off, and it's a foul on Anthony Davis. And Anthony contesting. A foul on Anthony Davis on the shot by Connolly in the short corner.
In a moment controversial to all, AD on a closeout on Mike Conley meets him in the corner where Mike Conley misses it and badly, but AD gets called a foul for being in his space. You can watch that replay over and over again. There's definitely no foul there, but if we're going on the range of him being in his landing space, we'd be seeing the refs call a technical on AD and the rest would lose the game. But somehow it is just a common shooting foul. Conley makes all 3 of them and it's time to go into OT. The Lakers scratched and clawed the way all the way back and are now forced to continue to play. But the momentum was fully in the Lakers' hands, seeing the Lakers win in OT and the game itself 108-102. The main factors being the contributions of AD and LeBron offensively, like they were back in 2019, and the fact that Anthony Edwards with a horrible 3 of 17 from the field and potentially shot the Wolves out of the 7th seed. With that win in the books, the Lakers can enjoy their prize of potentially taking down a young team with little playoff experience in the Memphis Grizzlies. And best of all, they are missing their starting center in Steven Adams, making this a far easier series for both LeBron and AD, and making the experts pull way more towards the Lakers. Game 1 was a nice showing with a back-and-forth game that showed how chaotic this series could be, with the Lakers having 4 people scoring over 20 points or more, alongside Rui Hachimura getting a team-high 29 points off the bench in 29 minutes. On the other side of the ball, the Grizzlies kept up all around big time, but the Lakers got off easy with Ja Morant facing an injury in Game 1, which only makes this series that much easier. They would proceed to lose Game 2, though, without Ja Morant on the Grizzlies due to their lack of three-point shooting, but even as he came back in Game 3, the Lakers would win 2 straight at home in LA to take a commanding 3-1 lead and make the league concerned that the Lakers just might be back with LeBron James and AD being top 5 players in the league. At this point, obviously, LeBron isn't the top 5 player, but fucking debate a wall at this point. I don't give a fuck. Anyways, they would avoid a loss in Game 3 despite Ja Morant going crazy for 45 points, and Game 4 saw another great team performance from the Lakers, having 6 players score over double figures. Game 5, though, back in Memphis was the usual. Lakers can't make a 3-point game where they went 10-39 and lost by nearly 20. But back at home in Staples for Game 6 is where the team needed to end the series and become the first team since the Spurs in 2010 took down the Mavericks in the playoffs to beat them as a 7th seed. And in LA, the Lakers went on and cleared out the Grizzlies at home in a 125-85 blowout, headlined by D'Angelo Russell's 31 points and going 5 of 9 from 3 in the place he used to call home at one point. So that does it. The Lakers took down the 2nd seed in the West and move on to the 2nd round to face once again an old foe of LeBron James, the Golden State Warriors, who just won the championship last season. So obviously, no one sees this series going easily for the Lakers, especially as Stephen Curry broke the Game 7 scoring record for 50 points. With that being said, in the 2nd round, all but 2 people picked the Warriors to win the 2nd round series, but every pick has something in common because it was either going 6 or 7 games. So we're in for an absolute good one. Primetime television, Stephen Curry versus LeBron James once again. However, one point of optimism Lakers fans had is the fact that the Warriors always keep a small roster when it comes to height, not in quantity. Anyways, and that could be an absolute feast for Anthony Davis. However, Stephen Curry is still Stephen Curry, and this time around, his team is healthy, unlike the last time they played. Game 1 was the usual fill-out game for the Lakers, but this time they were equally able to keep up with the Warriors due to contributions of the dominance of Anthony Davis, scoring 30 points on 11 of 19 shooting, grabbing 24 rebounds, and getting 4 blocks. But the game was sealed by the likes of D'Lo and LeBron James late into the game, giving the Lakers a 1-0 series lead and winning the game 117-112. But this next game would show a pattern that Lakers fans didn't appreciate from the likes of AD, and a trend that everyone was hoping would end, and that was the truly obvious inconsistency in the playoffs starting off in the 1st round. Because every odd number game, he would play amazing, but every even number game, it's the complete opposite. The Lakers would truly rely on AD and LeBron, don't know game to game if AD is going to play his best or play down a few levels, and while he was able to get away with that against the Grizzlies, against the Warriors, it became a clear talking point all over the media, and everyone noticed. And after the huge Game 2 loss against the Warriors 100-127 and AD only taking 11 shots, this trend continues with no ending. But I know the ending the Lakers fans don't want to see, and it's an ending where they lose the series. Game 3 would show this trend to continue as AD would go for 25, but the Lakers were hitting on all cylinders, seeing 6 players score over double figures, and D'Lo and LeBron scoring over 20 points themselves, while the Warriors gave up 19 turnovers, which gave the Lakers a huge 127-97 win at home. Game 4 saw the AD curse go away at home in a very important Game 2, with the Lakers gaining another 3-1 lead on their opponents as the lower seed. But AD wasn't the hero of that game. That honor belonged to the minimum contract of Lonnie Walker, who came in, played the entire 4th quarter, and torched the Warriors for 15 points by himself, going 6 of 9 from the field in the final frame to take the Lakers to the top. Lonnie Walker became a legend for the next 48 hours, but I also remember forgetting that AD broke his curse first in that game also. Just like in Game 5 of the last series though, the Lakers wouldn't get it done losing by 15, but Game 6 back at Staples, you just knew this was the game the Lakers were planning on winning for the fans, with LeBron and Austin Reeves combining for 53 points and Lonnie Walker having another big time performance off the bench, sealing the series 4-2 in a 122-101 game. The trades made by Rob Pelinka saved this series altogether and put the team back where they needed to be as a franchise, giving them the strength of a top tier team, and it showed in their post All-Star break segment of the season, making them a real threat to anyone in the playoffs. But they still got to finish the deal with their next opponent in the West being the best team in the conference, the Denver Nuggets. At this point in time, the Nuggets are no longer like what they used to be in the bubble. They added talent, retooling their roster into a much better team this time around, with the likes of Aaron Gordon, having MPJ become one of the best catch and shoot threats in the league, Bruce Brown, who came in on a cheap deal, and one of their very own in KCP, who was traded there after he played with the Wizards for a while. As a matchup of the 2019 Western Conference Finals, this is much-watched TV with a lot of implications on both sides. The Lakers are trying to make it back to the finals and make up for the Russell Westbrook mistake, and for the Nuggets solidifying Nikola Jokic as one of the NBA's greatest, going on one of the best solo runs in NBA playoff history. This time, when it came to the experts though, they chose the Nuggets to win in a 10-4 vote. But again, everyone thought it would be at least a 6-7 game series for either side to win. Game 1 was an absolute masterclass from both sides, and it started things off on the best note possible. But it was mainly the battle of AD and Nikola Jokic, with both centers unable to stop the other. AD went on an amazing 40 points while going 11-11 from the free throw line, but Jokic was the team's heart and soul with a lesser 34 points, but also adding 21 rebounds and 14 assists, a triple-double of the ages. But that wasn't the only thing. Nikola Jokic was dicing the Lakers defense in the first half, only 3 assists away from that triple-double mark, and nearly getting 20 points that put up the Nuggets 72-54 at halftime. Not a good look for the Lakers at all, but to their credit, they brought it all the way back down to a 3-point game with only 30 seconds left, but it was far too late as Jokic ended it with free throws, losing the game 132-126. But if you remember this series from 2023, you would also remember that AD's curse still remained in the even-numbered games. And with him scoring a playoff high of 40 points in Game 1, you just knew the price to pay would be heavy in the next game. And he would go and of course continue the curse, going 5 of 14 and turning over the ball 4 times in Game 2. But unlike the last game, the Nuggets themselves weren't hitting on all cylinders. In fact, it was the Lakers who controlled most of the game despite AD's shortcomings. Shout out to Rui Hachimura, another pickup in the trade deadline season, going for 17 first half points, going a perfect 7-7 from the field in the first half, and of course being the main reason the Lakers are enjoying this lead. But as Nikola Jokic was getting locked up in the second half, one of the best non-all-stars of all time, Jamal Murray, would show off that playoff rising ability he showed in the bubble, going for 27 second half points and scoring the Nuggets' last 12 points in the game that caused the Nuggets to take the lead at the 9:30 mark of the fourth quarter and take all the momentum away from the Lakers as they would lose again 103-108. In the playoffs, those type of performances you would like to avoid as much as possible from the opposite team, because with the Lakers being down 2-0, having multiple opportunities to win both times, it only means the room for error becomes smaller and smaller. AD's even and odd tendency continues with another great 28 point and 18 rebound double-double, with Austin Reeves and LeBron both contributing 23 points apiece. But the Lakers were still the victim of Jamal Murray's hot streak from last game, going into this one with him scoring a game-high 37 points. But as they focused more on him in the fourth quarter, trying to get him to stop, it allowed Jokic to score 15 of his 24 total points in the final frame for the Lakers to once again lose and just look like they were getting outplayed the entire game. But as they were putting in the hands of the duo of Jokic and Murray, I think what really set this series apart was the coaching of Mike Malone compared to Darvin Ham, which also became a main talking point with his team down 3-0, blowing multiple leads and just not creating an opportunity for them to actually get above and win just one game. But Game 4 at Staples Center is a must-win game. It's do or die. LeBron James has only been swept 2 times, both times in the NBA Finals, where the odds were completely against him heavily. I wouldn't want to say that this is the same thing, but again, the coaching difference between these two teams are absolutely night and day. Now, many years later, the same could happen here, and he is going to give it his all. And you'd see the GOAT do his thing at 38 years old with a 31-point first half scoring performance, his most ever in the first half in his career. And at times like this, it's absolutely necessary. It elevated the Lakers to a 73-58 halftime lead. But the Nuggets had been through this before and knew it was only a matter of time to take this game back like they'd done before. In the third quarter, the Lakers would show that they were gassed and wasn't showing the same intensity, with LeBron not being as aggressive scoring wise, and with AD and Austin Reeves going a combined 2 of 9 in the quarter, while Jokic scored 13 points in the third frame, and the Nuggets stormed back, making a 15-point lead disappear in only 8 minutes in the third quarter, and the Nuggets taking the lead with 4 minutes left in the third. Which means the Lakers are back to fighting for their lives once again, especially as the Nuggets take a 5-point lead going into the beginning of the fourth quarter. The Lakers would come back as AD would break his usual curse, going for 10 points in the fourth quarter and tying the game at the 1:13 mark to try and at least win one game and maybe try to do what the Celtics are doing at this time, trying to come back from a 3-0 lead themselves, 3-0 deficit themselves. But as Nikola Jokic gains back the lead with a layup, it is up to the Lakers to save their season and either take this game into overtime or win the game outright. And who else but LeBron James to lead the fate of the Lakers in his hands.
Reeves holding. James comes out of the pack. James on the drive, goes inside, stop, shot block, gets it back. It's over. It's over. Denver makes history. The Nuggets are going to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history.
After already missing one opportunity to win the game, LeBron James gets another opportunity to send this game into overtime, but this time he puts it back in his own hands again and gets blocked by Aaron Gordon, a newly traded player whose role was to handle the likes of people like him. And what an investment it was. The Lakers will lose by 2, and LeBron will be swept for the third time in his entire 20-year career, ending the 2023 season for your Los Angeles Lakers. But even as they were swept, all people can do is congratulate the Lakers. Even though they made the bonehead move of trading their depth away for a player who doesn't even work on their team, the Lakers in only one season were able to bounce back and make it to the conference finals off the play of LeBron James, AD, and the huge amount of depth that they got back for trading away Russell Westbrook in the forms of D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, and also picking up Rui Hachimura for the low. But just like I alluded to earlier, the Lakers gave these players the platform to show their work to the world, and every single one of them wants to be paid, all being on contract years. So this can all fall down if they don't play their cards right, or they can go after another star player to make another big three, but this time obviously with a fit that actually works. Lastly, the likes of Darvin Ham is already on the hot seat as a coach, but due to how things went this season, he'll get another opportunity to show his worth as a coach. The 2023 offseason will have a lot of pressure on the likes of the front office, but that offseason, unfortunately, would only show much more depressing facts for the future of LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers are back on the verge of being on the driver's seat of the Western Conference. With AD and LeBron still showing plenty of fight left in them and the great moves by Rob Pelinka making up for the Russell Westbrook mistake, all it'll take is a little retooling for the Lakers to start to contend once again. But like I mentioned last year, the Lakers are in a pretty interesting spot as a team. Sure, they made the conference finals again with their newly created team, but this new version of the roster came with stipulations, mainly being that you have to pay the likes of Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley. And as usual, the Lakers have other people to sign first, so let's talk about these four first. For the first person to join the team in the trade deadline, Rui Hachimura, for his contributions as a defensive presence and scoring option who came through multiple times within the season, received a 3-year, $51 million deal as he continues to improve and work on his game. Pretty good value, all things considering, and could be used in a potential trade with a contract like that. For D'Lo, who came in and used his three-point shooting to help the Lakers and being a clear upgrade to Dennis Schroeder, he received a 2-year, $36 million deal, but I guess the Lakers were giving him some type of flexibility in this deal because the second year is a player option if he ever felt he can get a better deal elsewhere or to rework his deal with the Lakers long term. For Jared Vanderbilt, who came in as a do-it-all defender and valuable starter to the team, he received a 4-year, $48 million deal, which serves as another team-friendly deal in the case that the Lakers wanted to go after another star. Speaking of which, as usual, the Lakers are always in the news for a new star to join their team. This offseason, it was the likes of Kyrie Irving, Zach LaVine, or even at one point Fred VanVleet. But nothing would come out of it, leaving the duo of LeBron and AD to remain by themselves. Speaking of Anthony Davis, he too would sign back on a long-term deal, with the Lakers getting his extension done early and sealing the deal that he remained with the Lakers for another 3 years at least. LeBron James still remains himself with his player option, but obviously that's another problem for another day at the end of the season, and something we'll be getting to later. I'm sure that you noticed that I left someone off this list of players that got re-signed, that player being Malik Beasley, who was a good shooter for the Lakers off the bench, but with a $16 million team option attached to his contract, you can see why the Jazz were so willing to get rid of him. The Lakers would follow suit and decline that team option, so he decided to take a near minimum with the Bucks instead, trying to go after a championship and becoming the starting shooter guard of their team. But now that opens new doors for new players to join the team and make their mark on this roster. For example, Taurean Prince, 1 year, $4 million. Cam Reddish, 2 years, $4 million. Gabe Vincent, 3 years, $33 million. That was definitely a surprise all around the league. Jackson Hayes, 2 years for $1 million. And a move I saw having a big impact at one point, Christian Wood, the offensive juggernaut for the Mavericks last year, 2 years and $5 million. Another big time, low risk, high reward move, but even Christian himself was trying to use this move to get more money as he fell out of the favor of GMs everywhere for his pursuit of money and his lack of defense, giving up as many points as he can score himself. Now, this is a team that might be an upgrade to last year. I might even argue that it wasn't, and even ESPN would follow that, as they were usually very biased for teams like the Lakers, having them predicted as a 46-36 team, which isn't even that good and can be even a play-in team in the wild Western Conference. But when you consider just how loaded the Western Conference is with the new trio in Phoenix, the rise of teams like the Thunder and the Timberwolves, and the usual contenders in Denver and the Clippers, quite literally anything can happen, and that 46-36 record could put them right back into the play-in to face another high-seeded team. So with the 2024 NBA season starting, the Lakers have one goal in mind, and I'll leave it up to AD, who said it simply: we're playing for a championship. That's our goal. But as we all remember, while the 2024 NBA season for the Lakers was decent, there was just one tiny issue, because after the 4 years since the Lakers have won the championship, there are new players and teams who become better in the Western Conference. And the duo of AD and LeBron is now far less feared, more than ever. But let's start from the beginning of the season before I get too far ahead of myself. Very quickly, it would be evident that the Lakers are not the team to fear in the Western Conference anymore. There are other teams on the rise that aren't getting any credit due to them being covered less by the national media, and other teams making deals to make their team stronger. OKC has an MVP candidate on their team in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, alongside their new big man in Chet Holmgren.
What a pro wants, what a pro needs.
The Suns have created a big three of Bradley Beal, D Book, and KD, even though that one isn't going all that well either. The Clippers would trade for James Harden and at one point be the first seed in the West, and the Timberwolves are the best offensive team in the NBA, with Anthony Edwards being one of the best guards in the league. The list of problems for the Lakers just continue to grow as the Western Conference starts to emulate the mid-2010s, where even winning 45 games would guarantee you a playoff spot. Luckily, the play-in is a thing, but you get what I mean there. The duo of AD and LeBron is now becoming out of style, especially as LeBron starts to regress little by little in ways, and the health of AD is always in question. But the beginning of the Los Angeles Lakers season was a polarizing one at that, because the coaching of Darvin Ham would become top headline news. Whether it was his lack of ability to make a concrete starting lineup, having way too many changes made on the court, or even his mind-boggling decision at one point to bench D'Angelo Russell. All of this happening while LeBron James and AD stayed healthy for most of the season, playing over 70 games this year. And even with both of them healthy and ready to go after another playoff run, the Lakers could still never find any consistent footing in the conference or in general in the league. Sure, they may have won the first ever in-season tournament and went a perfect 7-0 in that format. Some would say it's a nice showcase of what they could do in the playoffs, but at the beginning of the new year, the Lakers were a middle-of-the-road 17-17 in their record with question marks all over the place. The main one being that the Lakers are inconsistent in that last year was possibly a flash in the pans. Basically meaning the peak of the Los Angeles Lakers was cut short due to one move and one move only, the Russell Westbrook trade in 2021. And as the rest of the season develops, we would see injuries from the likes of Cam Reddish and their new pickup in Gabe Vincent to only make things that much worse. Things in LA were getting very tense, seeing how AD and LeBron can't be enough to get wins as a duo like they used to. And this is with AD being the healthiest he has been for a long time, and LeBron James playing the most efficient basketball we have seen in his career. At the All-Star break, you still had the Lakers at a depressing, for their standards, 30-26 and placed as the 9th seed in the West, which means that once again, the Lakers are just outmatched in the Western Conference. Add alongside the fact that Kyrie Irving, one of the people that the Lakers were targeting at one point, got traded to the Mavs during the deadline. The rich only got richer, and the Lakers were pretty poor. But hey, they picked up Spencer Dinwiddie on the buyout market, if that means literally anything. To the Lakers' credit though, after the All-Star break, just like last year, they went on another hot streak and found themselves as one of the more formidable teams to face in the playoff hunt as it was going on. And the Lakers were gunning for that 6th seed to avoid being in the play-in and potentially getting an easier playoff matchup. From March 18th to the end of the season, the Lakers went 11-3 and ended their year 47-35, which is great all things considering. They improved upon their record from the year before with a full season of this team with pieces from last year. But again, the Western Conference is nothing to play around with, as the conference hosted 5 teams who won 50 or more games, and the Lakers were still 2 games out of the 6th seed, which means the Lakers once again have to fight to be in the playoffs. And even if they did win against the 7-seeded Pelicans, they have to face off against the same team who eliminated them last year, the Denver Nuggets. But as a final review of the regular season, it was safe to say the Lakers were as mid as it got as a team. Ranked 15th and 16th in offensive defensive rating, got into the most games that ended with a difference of 3 points or less, which luckily they went 11-3 in those type of games. They still aren't very adept at shooting threes and don't take a lot of attempts from there. And even worse, the Lakers are now one of the worst 3-point defensive teams out there in the NBA, giving up 14 threes a night and allowing teams to shoot nearly a 40% clip against them. Again, this team is an absolute mess. But hey, just like last year, maybe the playoff experience of AD and LeBron can take them over the top and topple expectations once again. But it first starts with the play-in, where they have to play against the New Orleans Pelicans. The game was, as usual, dominated by the likes of the Lakers, who are used to these type of in-game scenarios, while the Pelicans are still new to postseason play. The first quarter wasn't how they wanted things to start off, with a 34-26 deficit led by the all-around offensive performance by the Pelicans, but the second quarter was dominated by LeBron James scoring 10 points and dishing 3 dimes to put them ahead by 10 at halftime. In the second half, though, is where the Lakers and Pelicans were fighting back and forth, trying to claim the 7th seed, whether it was Zion taking over the paint or Anthony Davis being a living mismatch for anyone on the Pelicans. But in the very end, the Lakers won the game 110-106, which means their reward is facing, unfortunately, the Denver Nuggets once again. And while the Nuggets didn't improve themselves personnel-wise, the Lakers are also in the same position, especially in the coaching department, where Darvin Ham might just be exposed once again. This time around, no one, and I mean absolutely no one, had the Lakers winning according to the experts at ESPN, because if anything was shown last year, Darvin Ham can get outcoached very easily. Oh, and before we start the playoffs, LeBron and AD became parts of the 2024 All-NBA teams, but what else is new? I just know if I didn't mention it, someone was going to say something. Anyways, it's very unfortunate to say this, but the Nuggets, as usual, got the Lakers number, and it didn't matter what the Lakers did, as the Nuggets always somehow found a way to overtake them. Game 1 was a close showing at halftime, but a 12-point KCP quarter in the third, with him going 4-5 from 3, saw the Lakers down by 11 going into the fourth, and then losing by 9 at the very end. Game 2 was the opposite though, with the Lakers this time being up by 15 at halftime due to Anthony Davis scoring 24 first half points and D'Lo adding alongside another 18 and going 6 of 7 from 3. But the Nuggets don't care about halftime deficits because there's still another 24 minutes of game time left, because the fourth quarter came around where Jamal Murray would come alive just like last year, dicing the Lakers possession by possession, and in the final 1 minute and 15-second mark of the fourth quarter, the Nuggets would tie the game off of a Michael Porter Jr. three-pointer. The Lakers can't get this opportunity up at all to finally be equal to the Nuggets, but Jamal Murray just continues to show that he is a playoff riser. Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, LeBron James missed a very crucial three-pointer that would have won the game. But just like last year against the same team, Jamal Murray, who already scored 12 points up to that point, went ahead and took a near impossible shot over the long wingspan of Anthony Davis and drained the corner mid-range to win the game. And now the Lakers are down 2-0. Game 3 was the same story as game 1 though, as the Nuggets were down 4 at halftime and created an 8-point lead at the end of the third and coasted their way to a 3-0 lead with a 112-105 win. This series was a near exact series to last year, and it's just getting depressing at this point. But again, the Nuggets have the Lakers number, and the Lakers are absolutely outmatched in the coaching department. Sure, they won game 4, but that took an otherworldly performance by their starting lineup to win, and game 5 came back to Denver, and where reality just had to set in for the future of the Lakers. Another halftime lead for them. They get outplayed in the third quarter as usual, and in the fourth quarter, Jamal Murray scored another 12 points and sealed this series for good. There isn't much you can even say because the Lakers in these last 2 matchups have been outmatched over and over again and allowed Jamal Murray to get hot at the worst moments. He's made for moments like this, and it's just like in game 2. He goes ahead and ends the Lakers season with another mid-range game winner, ending the series 4-1, thus leaving the Lakers in a huge problem scrambling around once again. And as I am well sure, the Lakers are not hoping that AD and LeBron can do enough, and that will cause a lot of panic for this front office going into the summer. So the question remains, can the Lakers salvage the situation somehow, or is it actually over for the LA LeBron experience? And now we are in the current day. It is the free agency period of the 2024 offseason, and the Lakers are in the headlines almost every day with some new reason. First, you have Darvin Ham getting fired alongside the entire coaching staff in general, and the replacement of him is JJ Redick of all people, who has zero coaching experience on any level. Then you have the entire saga of Bronny James being strongholded to the Lakers via the 55th pick of the current draft, where Rich Paul did all he could to make sure nobody else would draft him by not taking any workouts outside of the Lakers and Suns. And to add the cherry on top, if he was drafted by anybody else, he would reject the pick and go play in Australia. And if you think that couldn't get any worse, he just received a fully guaranteed contract already, which is something that most second-round picks, especially that late in the class, have to work hard for. But I think what really shows how bad things are for the Los Angeles Lakers is the current display of players refusing to team up with LeBron James at this point. Going into his 22nd season in the NBA, LeBron James was reportedly willing to take less money going into his final contract, I would only hope it's his final contract, to have an opportunity to win another championship. The likes of DeMar DeRozan, Klay Thompson, Jonas Valanciunas, and even James Harden all saying no in some sort of way or joining a different team. But everyone is rejecting his offer one by one because being a part of the circus that is the Lakers every year is not appealing at all, and seeing how the Western Conference is looking, there is no possible way anyone thinks that teaming up with LeBron at this point in time is even going to mean a championship at this point, or even being close to being a contender. And I think this tweet I saw online trending on NBA Twitter summarizes it best. Being a part of the Lakers while LeBron is on it comes with more negatives than positives. It was fine when LeBron and AD were first there and it was all about winning a championship, but the longer those two stayed together, the more hostile things got, and the quality of players who were willing to come there became lower and lower. And now in LeBron's final years, with no one wanting to join him on any note, at least at the time of me making this video, things can change. It is currently July the 3rd, 2024. Well, LeBron James just takes another max deal because if he can't win, well, he'd rather as well make his money, play with his son, and enjoy the perks of playing in sunny Los Angeles. There's a reason a lot of Lakers fans miss the old days of pre-LeBron, because a lot of people wanted to see what this actual young core could do in the future together, but instead they tore it all down for the LeBron James experience, and in that experience they got a championship that is torn down by the masses day by day, and not much else in the prospect of winning since then. Just the LeBron James experience in LA and the most polarizing era in the Los Angeles Lakers history. With that being said, tell me what team timeline you'd like to see next, your thoughts on this video, and until next time.